Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. If you are a fan of Telcoin, go ahead and hit that like button, and hopefully by the end of this video you become a subscriber. And so Telcoin is quietly becoming a leader in the space and people are not even realizing it. Telcoin is being discussed in a US House committee meeting that I'm going to be sharing a clip of in this video, and many people are going to be blindsided by what Telcoin has been building over the last 5 years. They are building something that is going to have a big impact on the financial industry. And so before we jump into that video clip, I would like to talk about this here, as I think this is a good opportunity to earn more Telcoin. And so there is the issuance of Telcoin. By using the Telcoin app and staking your Telcoin, you can earn free Telcoin. And so they are going to be paying out 3.2 million Telcoin every single week. And so at current prices, if you earn 20,000 Telcoin, that is about like $300 of Telcoin every single week. And you can see other people are earning more than that as well, 56,000 Telcoin. And so we can see, out of all the people that are being paid out here, there is 390 different addresses, accounting for the 3.2 million Telcoin being paid out, and this is on a weekly basis. And so if you're interested in earning this Telcoin, you can check out the link underneath the video to the Telcoin wallet. You can go ahead and stake your Telcoin there. Now, the more Telcoin that you are staking, the more of a referral fee rate that you can earn. And so you can see here on this chart, based on the amount you are staking, you can earn more of the fee rate, which will earn more Telcoin from the staking rewards of the 3.2 million Telcoin. And so definitely make sure to check out that link underneath the video. You do need a referral code right here to begin staking. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this video clip here from the US House Committee meeting today, talking about Telcoin with Senator Mike Flood.
The Housing and Insurance Subcommittee, Mr. Flood, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. My interest in stablecoins goes back to the work I did in the Nebraska unicameral legislature on this very issue. After my bill entitled the Nebraska Financial Innovation Act passed, Nebraska became the second state to have a regulatory structure for a new kind of state-chartered bank called a digital asset depository institution. A Nebraska digital asset depository institution can issue stablecoins, which puts my state in a unique position as it relates to the broader debate about a state pathway within this bill. Due to the laws in our state, I'm interested in the state pathway specifically as it relates to state-chartered bank issuers. My hope is that any federal stablecoin legislation will work hand in glove with our Nebraska Department of Banking and Finance and the work they are already taking on these very issues, and I appreciate the continued dialogue we've had with Chairman Hill and his team on ensuring that we strike just the right balance. Mr. Gwynn, can you please walk through your understanding of how the Stable Act would regulate a state-chartered bank subsidiary that issues a stablecoin pursuant to the bill's state pathway?
So as I understand it, there's sort of two possible regulatory frameworks. One is 4A, which sets federal standards, and then 4B that would allow a state to have an alternative regulatory regime that would satisfy or exceed those standards. So it's a little bit more restrictive than the dual banking system, where states have a little bit more freedom because the federal standards simply, it's not that they don't apply, it's that they cover a much narrower field of applicability, whereas here the standards are pretty comprehensive.
Good answer, because you answered my second question about how it compares to the dual banking system, so thank you. I'd like to emphasize a few things about the state pathway before moving on to my next question. One is that state regulators must get a certification approved by the Treasury, as you've said, showing that their state regime is in line with the bill's federal requirements or exceeding the federal requirements. In addition, there is an exigent circumstances provision in the bill that would allow a federal regulator to step in over a state regulator and enforce directly on state issuers in certain circumstances. And quite honestly, this has concerned me, just what is an exigent circumstance, but in other words, even the state pathway has a very extensive federal involvement. With that caveat, I'd like to highlight a line in Mr. Cascarilla's testimony, which said the following as it related to cross-border regulation of state-chartered stablecoin issuers. And I quote, "Primary oversight should remain with state-chartered issuers, home state regulator, avoiding redundant regulatory burdens," end quote. Mr. Cascarilla, if a state pathway for insurance doesn't include some form of regulatory primacy for the rules of their home state regulator, would state issuers juggling several state regulatory laws be at a disadvantage relative to issuers that receive a federal charter?
Yes, they would, and I think that is the exact point. which is today, as a state issuer, you have to juggle a number of different state approvals and exams, and that is a conflicting process that takes up a lot of resources and could certainly snowball in a situation like this.
I appreciate that answer. And let me just say this, does anybody in this room not think that the New York DFS could handle this? I mean, we have to respect the rights of states to have their own regulatory regime. Mr. Gwynn, can you comment on the same question? Juggling all these different regulators, does it put the state chartered issuers at a disadvantage?
So look, we get this question all the time from state issuers as a law firm. There's always a choice, but having a choice between a state and a federal regulatory authority is a good choice to have. And so it may well be that a particular institution decides I have more freedom to innovate if I'm regulated by a state, even if I have to go through the headache of looking at all these different state laws. Whereas if I go with a national regulatory, then it will be preempted.
Totally agree. And let's remember, what makes America the best financial market in the world, what makes us so successful, is that we have diversity in our banking. We have the GSIBs, we have the regional banks, we have the community banks, we have the federal chartered, we have the state chartered, and we have innovation. When you control all of that, you get Europe with a couple of banks and a couple of board of directors that are making the decisions for every consumer on the continent. And so let's celebrate what makes America strong by encouraging diversity, relying on states to manage and regulate state issuers of stablecoins with appropriate safeguards. I want to compliment Chairman Hill, Brian Stile, Mr. Davidson, Allison, and all of the work that the staff has done. We are in a good place because of the hard work of this committee, and I'm excited to see this bill pass. With that, I yield back.
And so we heard it there from Mike Flood. Innovation in the financial space is good, right? Telcoin is working at the state level in Nebraska to become the first digital asset bank. They have issued digital cash, right? Stablecoins is a big topic right now. There is an event going on Thursday where they're going to be voting on a bill that was introduced. And so we can see Telcoin Bank here, a digital asset bank. We have the world's first regulated bank-issued digital dollar that's going to be coming in 2025. We have other digital assets here as well. And so there's going to be a lot of digital asset stablecoins. And so as I mentioned, there's an event coming up on Thursday as well where they will be discussing the Genius Act of 2025, talking about stablecoin regulation. And this is going to be happening on March 13th at 10 a.m. And so this stablecoin bill was introduced by Senator Hagerty in February of this year. And so is this coincidence here? We have a picture of Senator Hagerty with Paul Neuner, the CEO of Telcoin, right? And so Telcoin is working very closely with regulation, whether we believe it or not. And so it's definitely something to be paying attention to. Now let's also take a look at this here. Now, when this bill was introduced in February here, they took a legislative step forward this week with the introduction of the Genius Bill, a bill proposed by U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty to establish a regulatory framework for stablecoins. And so we have the CEO of Telcoin here stating that at Telcoin, we are excited about the stablecoin legislation introduced this week, which aligns with state-level initiatives like Nebraska's Digital Asset Bank Framework. And so, Telcoin is excited about the Genius Act, which is guiding and establishing national innovation for the U.S. Stablecoins Act. And so I think this is very bullish for Telcoin, right? I think this is what Telcoin is waiting on being approved before they start launching their first regulated digital bank issued digital dollar that is going to be coming in 2025. And so this will be massive for Telcoin, right? We're still seeing discussion from Senator Mike Flood that introduced the LB 649 bill back in 2021. And so there is definitely a lot taking place with Telcoin. They just had their big event this week at MWC where they had partnerships announced, right? They met with a ton of different people. There was a lot of success with that event. And so there's more events coming up over the next couple of weeks with Telcoin as well. And so this is definitely something to be paying attention to. Telcoin is going to surprise a lot of people. And so if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe for future videos, and I hope to see you on the next one.